What's the first thing you imagine when picturing a life at sea? Perhaps it's glorious sunshine and turquoise waters, dolphins, desert islands, and incredible stargazing. Maybe you're intimidated by the maintenance, the constant failures, and always having to predict the next disaster. Or maybe you're one of the few who are concerned about piracy on the high seas. When we chose to set sail and leave our land life behind, we considered all of these. Strangely, something that didn't even make the list of concerns was the potential of sailing into a radioactive nuclear test site. But hey, there's always a first time for everything.
All right, we gave ourselves a bit of a break. We've had the evening here and we've woken up to pretty much perfect weather. I mean, give or take. It is a longer passage, probably around 4 days. So we're not really gonna be able to predict it perfectly for the weather the whole way there, but it does look good for the first sort of 2 days worth of passage. There is a big low rolling through underneath us, so hopefully it won't affect us too much, but we might get a bit wet. Either way, it is time to get the anchor up and get going because we need to go roughly an hour out towards the pass over there and then on our way to Gambier. So kind of incredibly, I think we might have actually timed this one about right. The swell is looking fairly flat. There's a couple of white caps out there, but not a lot to worry about. And more excitingly, we're eyes on the helm.
It's a day for it, isn't it? You're not going to be allowed to do anything on the boat now.
I mean, that is going to be fun if I can just sleep for the next 4 days.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't know what I was saying.
All right, so what do we think? Is it going to be an easy one?
Yeah, I think the guesstimator is like completely opposite. So we thought it was going to be high tide, and I think it's actually low tide. But that's okay. It's still pretty, like there's a couple of waves out there, but I don't think they're too terrible. We're going out 5 minutes before slack tide. So we'll see what we get.
Be fine. You got this.
Got it.
Just don't crash the boat.
Here we go.
I got wet.
That was a splashy one.
I'm actually soggy.
Now you know how I feel.
What's that
And you
about?
take me through splashy bits. We're almost out.
Beautiful. Nicely done.
Yeah, that was good. It was slightly choppier than I thought, and looking back on it, it's slightly choppier than I was expecting, but at least it was quite short.
Yeah,
so it was like
short.
10 seconds of just slamming mayhem, and now it's pretty calm again.
So the thing that makes this pass kind of interesting is that this is mostly, if not entirely, man-made. Because this was a military base, this is the only pass in and out of Howe, and it's pretty choppy, and all of the water that fills that atoll has to come out one entrance. So yeah, it can be quite turbulent, as we know from experience. Thankfully, this time not so bad.
Well, we don't have much wind today. We're seeing about 10 knots right now, coming from our port side, about 60 degrees off where we're trying to get to. So we're going to throw up the sails and see if they help us a little bit. It should be kind of just enough to sail, and then fingers crossed it's going to fill in kind of throughout the rest of the afternoon and overnight. But at least we're moving. We're on our way.
Well, how's this for sailing? We are going at what?
6.8.
6.8 out of...
We have 10 apparent. And the sea state is basically like a mirror. This is absolutely perfect.
That's ridiculously
I will
good.
take this for the next 4 days, please.
Absolutely, no waves whatsoever. Barely any breeze, but we're somehow moving at more than half of true. Sorry, more than half of apparent, which is even better.
Yeah, we've only got 9 knots true. We're making over 6. This is great.
That's ridiculous. All right, at least we are now properly on our way. Engines off and Gambier. Here we come.
I'm so excited.
So it's like 2 in the morning now. And I realized that we haven't really given you all the details of why it is so creepy where we are sailing. So back in like the 60s and 70s, the French government decided that the middle of the Pacific was a great place to test nuclear weapons. They were trying to figure out if nuclear bombs were controllable. They were trying to work out how big they needed to be, all this kind of stuff. And they looked at the world map and they said, you know what, the middle of an ocean makes the most sense. And conveniently, they happened to own a chunk of the ocean in the middle of the Pacific. So they set about testing nuclear weapons on an atoll just over there, like literally right over there. And it was like proper, mushroom cloud bombs going off. They set off loads of these things. And in that time, they set them off down inside tunnels. They set them off above the lagoon on like hot air balloons, essentially. And they just studied the results. What's terrifying is this went on all the way up into the 90s when they finally got shut down because of like UN rules, I think, or something like that. And in that time, they had made mistakes. So they had like 50 bombs that they'd set off in these tunnels that they'd dug, or these tubes into the earth, essentially. And some of those hadn't made it to where they were supposed to. When they dropped them down the tunnel, I kind of imagine some guy lighting a fuse and running 100 miles away. But when they'd set it off and sent it down the drilled hole that they'd made, it didn't make it as deep as they expected. So they had like issues with landslides where the side of an atoll slid away. They had issues where like the radioactive debris waste ends up getting out into the ocean. And at one point, they even miscalculated the weather. So we are deliberately sailing upwind of this nuclear site. We're actually kind of restricted how close we can get because supposedly the French military still patrol it. You're not allowed in. You're not really allowed anywhere near. And yeah, they miscalculated the weather, and the radiation cloud ended up drifting all the way up to Tahiti. And to this day, there are legal cases against the French government for this happening. People do live out here, and it's not like they cleared the area entirely. They just figured, well, that's probably far enough away. It's just a bit scary. But it's an ongoing issue. I looked at a report, and they said that if they were to allow people entry to the lagoon, the risk would be that someone would scratch themselves and essentially get radioactive particulates into their blood. So they would be poisoned, and that would ultimately cause them to die. So it's like proper radioactive, scary stuff. So the fact it's just over there means I'm very happy that we're just going to keep going this way. Hopefully we don't get approached by any military vessels telling us to get lost. And hopefully by the end of this, we don't glow in the dark and my skin doesn't stay the color this light's making it.
This is now day 2 of our passage from Howe, and we have such nice conditions. We are just getting a consistent like 9 or 10 knots, but the sea state is so calm. We are just absolutely flying along. It is so nice. It's kind of the sort of weather where I would normally be thinking, oh, this would be perfect for dolphins. So I'm just here like keeping my eye on the horizon, but I can't decide if I want to see any or not. Like, it's always nice to see dolphins, but I also don't really love the idea that there's any sea life living here so close to the old nuclear test site and whatever health conditions that has left them with. So maybe there's like myths and legends passed down from generation to generation of dolphin families, and they tell their children, don't go near the kind of the evil dark magic of the Badlands. There's something weird over there. Maybe they all stay away and it's fine. Or maybe they're like, have superpowers and they can glow in the dark and fly. I don't know. There's always hope.
All right, so we are just passing a couple of islands that we're using as kind of our turning point on this passage, which means we've gone from beating into the wind to sailing downwind. But it got me thinking. So the South Pacific has got these little tiny uninhabited, like unknown about islands. They all have little names and I'm sure they're owned by somebody, but if you were an Elon Musk or a Zuckerberg or a billionaire who wanted their own Tracy Island, surely this is where you do it. What do you think?
Are you going to become a hermit and live on an island and not let anybody come to visit.
No, I think I should do a Tracy Island. I think we should have something that's full of gadgets and rockets and then
Save the world.
save the world.
Every week.
Yeah, FAB and all that.
Okay, you sold me with Thunderbirds.
I'm going to create Thunderbirds. For those of you who have no idea what Thunderbirds are, I just realized this could be confusing.
We have tried to explain this before. Basically, it's like a superhero puppet show from the 90s.
If we set up our own Tracy Island, you could have your own Thunderbirds.
Yeah, we could. That would be great.
Do you think Zuckerberg actually owns one of these and just doesn't tell anyone? Musk definitely does, surely. Like USCI, BVI, that's so last year.
Tracy Island is where it's at.
Yeah. Launching rockets.
Oh. Well, we have just been enjoying the sunshine all afternoon. I think the forecast tomorrow is for an awful lot of rain. So we're trying to soak up the nice conditions while we have them. And we are now past the nuclear testing site. We cannot visit. There are actually two atolls right next to each other and you're not even allowed to sail between them. I think there is also active military there kind of patrolling the area and making sure that nobody goes in. So you probably can't see it. It's like way on the horizon and hopefully we're at a safe distance and we're now not radioactive. But yeah, it's been all right, hasn't it? You're waiting for the superpowers to fill in.
Want to do Wolverine or Spider-Man?
I don't know if you get to pick.
Oh, what one do I end up with then?
Do I get to pick for you? This could be fun. Glitter Boy!
How would that
be
even
the
work?
best one.
For you?
You'd make people so happy.
Okay, I think Brioni's been up for a few too many hours and is now delirious. It's time to trade out shifts. You go to bed, I get to enjoy the sunshine baking me at the helm for the next 6 hours. We did this yesterday. As it goes down over here, it just sets fire to the cockpit and I can't hide from it. So I shall melt, you shall sleep, and then see you for dinner.
It's a winning combination.
Competition.
I don't know, I'm so tired. I've been up for
Combination.
however many hours. Bye!
Yes. Night. Good morning, good morning. Well, it is 6 a.m. I've been on since, I think, 3. Kind of losing track. Maybe it was 2. Yeah, 2 a.m. It's now 6 a.m. The sun has come up and we are downwind still. We actually made our last kind of course correction, I think, for this whole passage last night, just as we did our changeover at 2. So we took down the main and we barber hauled the Genoa, which pushes it out over the bow. And that almost gave us enough of a direct downwind path, but it does mean we're going a bit slower, which is a bit of a pain because we then just watch our rough ETA just climb up and up and up. But today is looking like the wind is going to be relatively stable, so we'll probably try and get the Spinnaker out again and see if that gives us a dead downwind, which would be perfect right now, to be honest.
And instantly we are flying along. These conditions are absolutely ridiculous. The waves have definitely started to pick up, but they're not terrible. But every so often, if we get picked up by a big one, we've gone past 10 knots, let's just put it that way. We're averaging maybe 8 out of 13 or 14 apparent, and this is what Spinnakers are made for. Who's a happy boy?
So happy. I've seen 11 already. Roughly, I'm trying to do the maths. It's hard when there's waves involved because you can surf, which kind of gives you a false impression. But through water, we've definitely done 8 knots through water.
What?
Yeah, and then 11 over ground.
That's wild.
And we're seeing like an apparent wind of, I don't know, 12 knots right now.
Oh my goodness.
That's ace. Ah!
So it's always nice to be moving fast, but now as we are on our final approach to Gambier, we do have to start thinking about our arrival time. And it's going to be cutting it fine whether we're going to make it tomorrow before sunset or not. So we either have to keep this speed up and we'll get there in the afternoon, or we have to give in and sock the Spinnaker and slow down with Genoa only and then spend an extra night and arrive the following morning, which would be a little bit sad.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to be safe though. I'm not too sure we'd be comfortable riding at 9 knots over ground in the dark, surfing waves with a Spinnaker up taking shifts. I think we're going to be going to tomorrow morning.
The next morning, I'm afraid.
The next morning, yeah.
Yeah, so the conditions are expected to just keep building. So the wind is going to gradually, steadily keep rising. It's not going to get too terrible because we're downwind, so that's sort of working with us. But the swell is going to be the big thing. It started out at like 1 meter and it's going to be close to 3 meters by the time we get there, which I'm not really looking forward to, but I'm just putting that out of my mind right now. And maybe it will be fine. Flying along all afternoon, but the clouds have come in now and there is a rain shower on its way. So we are going to sock the Spinnaker and then probably make our turn and put the Genoa out on the other side and then run through the night a little bit slower, but at least if we've got lots of rain showers, then we don't have to worry about it quite so much.
So what are you doing the first week in April? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're coming and sailing with us. Of course you are. Why wouldn't you want to hang out with us? Well, actually, why wouldn't you want to hang out with us and a whole pile of super qualified sailors? This year, we have been invited to take part in the Odyssey Sailing Festival in the British Virgin Islands. It's like made for cruising. The Odyssey Sailing Festival is just a week-long party. It is so much fun. We all get to hang out, we get to share stories, you get to try your hand at sailing a 50-foot catamaran, and there's a professional chef, and a whole pile of cool, interesting people that you get to meet and hang out with, and just get a taste of the cruising life. So, set up your diary, 1st of April, come hang out with us, just check out the web link below, send us a message, and we will put you in touch with the organisers, because we do still have some space on our boat, but it is getting a little bit limited.
We're nearly there, baby. So I need to get on and finish the Gambier flag because that's my little ritual of the thing I do on passage to a new place. So that is the Gambier flag finished. It is all done. It is slightly messy, but never mind, it'll do. It's going to be up a mast. Who's going to see it? It is at least better than our Tuamotu's flag, which is very, very worn away and has almost disappeared. And while I was at it, I made a new Scottish flag because our one had basically completely disintegrated. So we can be Scottish and proud again and fly that on the other side. But that's it, we're ready to arrive now. And it's very exciting because we're so close that now on the charts, the Gambier, instead of being a tiny little speck of a dot, we're close enough that you can actually see the 4 islands inside the atoll, lagoon, perimeter reef thing. The 4 islands in the blob. That means it's close. I'm getting so excited, this is ridiculous. We're gonna be there soon. Okay, the Spinnaker is flying. It's our last day at sea. Did you have a good sleep? And are you excited as I am for the approach to the Gambier?
I had a great sleep. I'm really enjoying seeing 9.2 on our boat speed.
Woohoo!
This is ace. I love this sail.
Yeah.
What, the fucking big sail, wasn't it? This fucking big sail is amazing. Cindy loves it. I love it. This is good. So basically, I get my entire shift with this up, right?
Well, so we do need to plan this because we're actually going to arrive way too early if we fly the Spinnaker for like the whole day. Also,
yeah, we could arrive today if we go really, really fast.
I think it's going to get like really squally this afternoon. So we can have like 3 hours probably of this.
3? There's not a cloud. There's clouds everywhere.
There's clouds everywhere, but there's no rain on my whole shift. So I did really well at avoiding those.
Basically, it's going to be the same all the way there, and we'll get there at 1 in the morning.
Exactly.
Hang on, I can do the math. So if we can get an average of 12 knots, we could get there by sunset.
Right, come on, Indy.
Hang on, let's do this. So we have taken the Spinnaker down because we do have to try and align our arrival with sunrise. Despite my better judgment, I really do want to floor it and just get there as soon as possible. But we had a little bit of a chat about it, and I think if we could aim to kind of arrive at what would be the pass, the entrance to the atoll, it's quite a large entrance. It's not really a pass like we're familiar. So I think we could afford to arrive there a bit before sunrise, maybe like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We'll see if that happens. But either way, it meant we had to slow down. So we are back on just the Genoa, and we're still going fairly fast. Like we're going 6.5. Okay, I just saw 8.3 knots. However, the waves, as a result, have caught up with us because we are still going the same direction as the waves right now. Which means Indy is just being rolled all over the place and surfing down these waves, which have grown to reasonably large. I don't think they ever come out on camera, but they're probably heading towards the 9-foot mark now, the 3 meters-ish. And they're not always directly behind us. So, you know, one corner of the boat gets lifted and then we kind of roll over them like this. So it's made things a little bit more uncomfortable on board. But the good news is, I reckon if we do this, what's it now? It's 15 minutes to 4 p.m. So basically do this for another 12 hours and then we'll be there. So we have been referring to this as our 1,500 mile beat to wind. And it kind of has been up until the last 3-4 days. So what we're doing right now is we're actually riding the tails of a tropical depression, kind of like a pre-cyclone. And this big tropical depression formed over in Norway and then got dragged along and south into the Southern Ocean. And as it did so, it creates these kind of blades of wind as it kind of spirals its way down. And we're basically running on one of those blades of wind. So it is slowly rotating round on us. But thankfully, it's kind of doing it in a favorable way. Certainly the way we've positioned ourselves. So we're riding this blade of wind toward the Southern Ocean, and as it rotates, hopefully we'll rotate with it and we'll land right in the doorway of the Gambier.
It's 3 a.m. We've just been crawling along all night with only a sliver of Genoa out in front of us, trying just to slow the boat down. We've dodged a few squalls, but the wind is dying off now. So it is all pretty calm and relaxed, but we are so close. We are just about to do our final jibe and sail up the outside of the reef wall towards the pass. And hopefully we should get there around sunrise. We're so close we should be able to see land right now, but it's so dark I can't make anything out. So as soon as the sun starts to come up and the sky gets light, this is gonna be just unreal. We are nearly there.
All right, Bri just came down and woke me up. Well, woke me up, got me out of bed because I haven't been able to get any sleep. And then she shouted the immortal words.
Land ho! We have got 3 fairly significant mountains just silhouetted against the early morning sky. It is quite something to see them just like appear out of darkness. I thought we were gonna like miss that cool moment of seeing land for the first time. But actually arriving at sunrise is pretty special. We've got like pink clouds behind and the sky is just getting lighter and lighter on our final approach. And here we are, we made it to Gambier!
It's pretty insane. Like when you think about how far we've traveled to get here and what we've been through to get here, it's a long ride. I mean,
it has been like 7 weeks since we left Moorea.
Yeah, 7 weeks to do 1,500 miles, which sounds ridiculous when you think about it. But we've had seasickness, we've had ripped sails, we've had a fairly critically damaged autopilot, we had a fuel tank explode, and then we've dealt with horrendous weather, and in all of that we had Christmas in the year as well. So it has been an absolute gamble, an absolute quest.
There were several moments where I really thought we weren't going to make it.
Tell me about it. But seriously, knife edge at times. And yeah, we're here. We're like literally 5 minutes away from Pitcairn. We're way in the south.
Don't get ideas.
Mutiny?
No, I thought you were going to say, let's not stop here. Let's just keep going.
Ooh, let's hang a left. Brioni had the hots for a Thunderbird.
Yeah, the ginger one. Look how that worked out.